And the House Oversight Committee releasing new Biden family bank records showing that the Bidens took in at least $20 million from countries such as Russia, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine. The GOP's memo showing a day after a Kazakhstani businessman sent Hunter Biden more than $142,000. Hunter bought a Porsche for that exact same price. The record's also tracking a Russian oligarch's $3.5 million payment to a Hunter Biden Devon Archer shell company. Then Vice President Joe Biden had dinner with both the Kazakhstani businessman and Russian oligarch in 2014 and 2015. Joining us right now is Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Muser. He's a member of the House Financial Services and Small Business Committees. Congressman, it's great to see you.
Maria, so great to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I want to talk about finance in a second, because I know when you all get back from recess, you're going to have to deal with the government running out of money. But first, let's talk about these new findings from the House Oversight Committee. How do you see all of this?
Well, it's pretty ugly. It's pretty clear that Joe Biden lied. And why did he lie? Because he knew the business that was taking place. He knew a lot about the business. I mean, he informed his son that he was in the clear. In the clear for what, Joe? And why were you lying? Because you knew, without pronouncing it. I mean, you must have known that there was some shady dealings taking place. And with countries like Romania and Kazakhstan and the Moscow mayor paying him $3.5 million, and then to celebrate going to Cafe Milano, from the laptops to the White House records to the bank records. And how about just the whole, I get pushback sometimes when we refer to the Biden crime family. I mean, let's face it. I mean, he's got his grandkids. He's got his grown children. He's got grown relatives receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars into their bank accounts. Yeah. I know if somebody in my family got that amount of money into their bank account, they'd be asking a few questions.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, actually, that they set up all of these 20 shell companies while he was vice president. Mm-hmm. Why set up all of those companies? And you mentioned the Cafe Milano situation. That was when Joe Biden, as vice president, showed up at a Hunter Biden meeting. They were all meeting at Cafe Milano. You've looked at this over the years as well, Lee Zeldin.
What I have been told by the other media channels is that there's no evidence.
Right.
So this is amazing news, this claim that there's actual evidence. And when you think about the meetings, the bank records, the documents, the pics, the laptop, the WhatsApp messages, the emails, the whistleblowers, the business partners, the clients, they're all sounding off right now, connecting all of the dots. And still, on these other networks right now, all they want to feed to their listeners is that there's absolutely no evidence of any of it.
That's a whole nother scandal, the fact that these are the most serious allegations ever posed on a president, and the mainstream media will not cover it. Yeah. I mean, that in and of itself is a whole nother issue. President Biden snapped at Fox News' Peter Doocy this week when asked about his involvement in his son's business dealings. Watch this.
There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them, talking business. Is that what?
Never talk business in anybody. And I know you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Lousy question, Congressman. Why is it a lousy question for the media to actually be probing this story?
because they're hoping that they will. The Joe Biden brand is access to the United States taxpayer dollars. They created that access. It was an illusion. Like my colleague Dan Armstrong stated, that Archer supposedly said that it was an illusion. That was Goldman's words. He came out and
Dan
lied
Goldman,
as well.
yeah.
Right, so there was no allusion to it. That was what was being sold. It was being sold access. And what was the result of those payments? Yeah. There always has to be some deliverables. We did see one, right, with the prosecutor in the Ukraine being fired. We all saw that. Yeah. And there are others. And that's what we're going to find out in an impeachment inquiry.
Well, that's where I'm going to ask you next. Where are you on this impeachment inquiry? Because Marjorie Taylor Greene told me that she doesn't feel like you guys have enough votes from the members to actually do this inquiry. I know Kevin McCarthy says if it rises to the levels, we'll do it. Is this going to be a priority when you all come back in September?
Well, we got a number of priorities, of course, and you alluded to a couple as far as appropriations bills and all, and that's real important stuff. But absolutely, we can walk and and investigate at the same time. So, yes, I'm all for an impeachment inquiry. I think the vast majority of Republican members and those will get on board because it's an inquiry. And you know what, Maria? We're the only ones doing it. DOJ completely focused on helping the IRS and disclaiming whistleblowers. The Republican majority is going to bring some accountability and do everything we can to get to the bottom of this for the American people. So the American people understand whether or not their president is engaged in criminal activities.
Yeah.
Payoffs.
And with all of this evidence that we're seeing every day, something new, what happens? They indict Donald Trump. So we've got newly released court documents revealing Special Counsel Jack Smith obtained a search warrant for data and records related to President Trump's Twitter account. Twitter, now of course known as X, initially pushed back on the court's order, refusing to comply. They refused for 3 days, the social media platform asking if they could tell Trump's legal team first. But the court denied the request and fined the company $350,000 for the delay. Trump responded on Truth Social saying this: "Just found out that crooked Joe Biden's DOJ secretly attacked my Twitter account, making it a point not to let me know about this major hit on my civil rights. My political opponent is going crazy trying to infringe on my campaign for president." Is that what this is about? They want, Byron Donalds this weekend said to me, they want to bleed Trump dry of money so that he can actually do what needs to be done for a campaign. Is that how do you see that in terms of this coincidence that something happens in terms of evidence coming out on Hunter Biden, the next day another attack on Donald Trump?
I think it's pretty obvious, and the American people, I think, are waking up to it. I mean, doing everything they can to suppress their own malfeasance activities and hide their own accounts and to desperately try to keep the Biden family out of jail. Meanwhile, they're completely focused on indicting their number one opponent in a political campaign.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's Banana Republic stuff. American people got to understand that is exactly what's happening, and we're going to investigate it. We're going to find out what's going on, and the proper resources have to be dedicated to whether or not the president has committed high crimes and misdemeanors and taken bribes.
Stunning. Tiana, did you want to add something?
Yes. My question is that we know that the Obama administration internally warned Biden that his son was running around Ukraine, running around Russia, taking bags of cash. So why didn't Obama decide to take Biden off of the Ukraine mandate, right? They were warned. They warned Biden and Hunter personally, and yet he stayed on there. So I'm curious about the Obama administration's complicity.
Well,
Any thoughts?
Obama wasn't exactly a micromanager, clearly. He allowed a lot of this to take place. And at the one point he said, "Joe, I hope you know what you're doing," right? And he also said, never leave it up to Joe to I'm not quoting it right, to foul things up. And that prophecy came to fruition.
Yeah, well, look, real quick, on the end of September, government running out of money, do you expect you'll have a continuing resolution? What's the plan?
We need the problem solved. Kevin McCarthy is very good at that, as you know, so as well as Steve Scalise and others. So we likely will not have our appropriations completed by September 30th. So, yes, I would imagine a very short-term CR, and then we run Republican majority appropriations, allocations of the American people's dollars.
Yeah, well, that's the power of the purse that you talk about so much. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning.
You too, Maria.
Thanks so much. Dan Muser joining us, Pennsylvania. We'll be right back. Stay with us.